Yeah, now's a chance if anyone has any questions for our guest speaker. This is your one and only chance.
Yeah.
Hello. I read Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche's book In Love with the World a few years ago, and he talked about how when he was an itinerant monk, when he was traveling and he was homeless, he almost died, and he did a practice where he worked with the elements. And I was wondering if you had any experience with this practice of like the death process with the earth element, water, fire, air, this kind of thing.
He had a death process experienced.
Yes.
Okay. No, I don't have that experience. Sorry for that, but
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I was just asking, I guess if like this was like a typical practice in like Tibetan, like Buddhist practice to prepare for the moment, like the death process, or if this is something that is not taught as a
it's not it's not practice something you try to experience that. It's not. There's no such thing. But randomly you can experience sometimes. That is not impossible, because every day we sleep and wake, but that's also is similar of the death process. So the dream is like bardo, similar. The deep sleep is like the real death, and then so there is a similarity, but we don't experience very much because it's too fast and not big as real death. So that's why, but there is similar process every day for everyone. So somehow, sometimes some people can experience, but it's not often. That's only I heard, and also logically possible. Yeah, but I didn't know. So that's why if you practice that sleep, dream, if yoga, those practices does help, and when you die, the big awareness of your death and not confused, and the bardo, you know what to do. Those things suggested in the text.
And Rinpoche, what are your thoughts about it when someone has a sense of a strong affinity or a strong connection with a particular bodhisattva? So for example, whenever I see images of Avalokiteshvara or Kishtagarbha, there's just an immediate sense of connection.
Yeah.
In fact, you might notice we have a lot of both of them in this monastery.
Mm.
So there's a row of 3 Kishtagarbhas right above your head.
Yeah.
There's the big Guanyin out front and a bunch of smaller Guanyins everywhere.
Yeah.
So I've always felt this strong connection with those 2 particular bodhisattvas. So what are your thoughts when someone feels a connection with a certain bodhisattva like that?
Yeah, so bodhisattva's connection with the like bodhisattva or any holy beings connection is we call very important. If you make connection, that's why you meet somebody respected, is just met or just offer something little, or everything is very important. And even we say, even you make bad connection, still is we say better than zero connection. So even you like kind of harm or something like that, even bad connection is much better than zero connection. They say that. So why I say that? Because it doesn't mean you harm holy beings. It doesn't mean you have no consequences of experience, suffering, karma. Yes, but eventually make connected in the future. So like that. So that's why probably we have to say you had connection somehow. The bodhisattvas, when is not bodhisattva, an ordinary person, that time you have some connection, your brother, sister, or any other connection, friends, or any you understand. So yeah, could be anything before they become a bodhisattva or after bodhisattva. Either way, you had some connection many lifetimes. That makes a difference in this life as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have one question for you, because Theravadin's the final goal is Arhat or Buddhahood.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
It depends on each practitioner, what they want.
Oh.
So, yeah, different people have different goals. So
Okay.
even in Theravada, some people, their goal is to become Sammasambuddha or Pacheka Buddha, and some their goal is to become an Arhat in this life.
Yeah.
They have different goals.
So Samanta Sambuddha means the Buddha omniscient.
Yeah, like this
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
So
see.
so what they distinguish Buddha and Arhat?
The main distinction is that the Sammasambuddha has the ability to teach anyone,
Yeah.
and the Sammasambuddha attains awakening on their own without a teacher.
Yeah.
Whereas an Arhat has to have a teacher. So even if it's just reading the suttas, we have to have a teacher. And also, some Arhats can teach and some are not so good at teaching.
Yeah, but when you reach the Arhat or reach the Buddhahood, is you saying the difference is the teaching or not teaching?
That's the main difference. There's a few places in the suttas where it also says that there's certain like refined understanding of paticca samuppada, dependent origination. So some very refined understanding of causality, which is specifically the domain of a Sammasambuddha. And I've never really clearly understood why that is, why certain things would be only in the mind of a Sammasambuddha.
Sammasambuddha means Buddha, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Buddha is a Theravadin recognized as like omniscient? Know everything?
It depends what you mean by omniscient.
Omniscient means in our sense is you know everything, but the Tibetan point of view, Tibetan Buddhist point of view, you omniscient, you know everything past, present, future, everything at the same time. But when I read the Theravada, the sense like they say, oh, Buddha think 3 times or something a day, what they're doing, what's going on. So that means it sounds like you need effort and think. So, and according to Tibetan Buddhism, you don't need effort, you just know, same time, or 3 times.
Yeah, well, what we have is in one of the suttas, and I don't remember which one, but in one of the suttas, it says that the Buddha doesn't know everything all the time, but he can know anything at any time.
Yeah.
So like if right now he wanted to know something, he would immediately know it.
Yes.
But he doesn't have like the entire infinite spectrum all in his mind all at once.
Yes.
So it's, I think they call it the difference between general omniscience and specific omniscience. So the usual Theravada view is that the Buddha has specific omniscience,
Yes,
which means he can
yes.
know a specific thing at any time.
Yes. That sounds more imaginable. So, the Tibetan point of view is, is unimaginable. Like you know everything same time. No need effort. Yeah, and also, do you call Patyeka Buddhas, Sharvaka Buddhas differently?
So we have the term Pacceka Buddha, and then sometimes an Arhat we call an Anu Buddha.
Yeah.
So Anu Buddha or Buddhanu Buddha.
Yeah.
So awakened following another awakened one.
Yeah.
So we sometimes talk about three kinds of Buddhas: the Sammasam Buddha, Pacceka Buddha, and Anu Buddha.
Yeah. Oh, Pacceka Buddha means what difference?
Pacceka Buddha is someone who attains awakening without a teacher, but
Oh,
who
yes,
is
yes,
not
yes,
able
yes.
to teach others.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, we said this. We call it Rangel. Rangel means you really realize yourself. So we call solitary practitioner.
Yeah, Pacceka means alone.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's something like 500 Pacceka Buddhas for every one Sammasam Buddha. Like they're much more common.
Yeah. Okay. Also, so when
I thought it was supposed to be them asking. I don't mind. I'm just a little bit surprised.
That's great. I like it.
you can question me anything, but I would like to question you. I always opportunity to talk Theravadin monks. I always really do, but they often they can't. I always meet they can't speak English very well.
Okay.
So this is the opportunity.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So the Arhat, Arhat achieved Nirvana, and Nirvana is Arhat means you become Arhat means you achieved Nirvana.
So we make a distinction between non-returner, so in Pali anagami, which means someone who has removed all greed and hatred from the mind.
Yeah.
But they still have the belief in self-existence. So that we call anagami or non-returner. But then an arhat is someone who they've both removed all greed and hatred, but they've also removed all belief in self-existence.
Yeah.
So the concept of I am is totally gone.
Yeah.
So
there is Nirvana.
Yes.
That means every Arhat is not necessarily reaching Nirvana.
Yeah, necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the Buddha, like Buddha time, they say Ananda, he didn't reach the Arhat.
Yes. So the story goes that he was, I think, still a stream enterer, Sotapanna, when the Buddha passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he became an arhat sometime after the Buddha passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you say these all Arhats eventually they're going to become a Buddha, or they just stay there forever?
So this, it's one of the things in the Theravada Suttas which the Buddha didn't answer.
Oh,
so people would ask the Buddha what happens to an arhat after they die.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the Buddha said that this was one question that he would never answer.
Oh.
And he said you could spend 100 years contemplating this question, and you will never find an answer, and you will also not be one step closer to awakening.
Yeah.
So the closest he came to giving an answer is he said that you cannot describe an arhat after death either as existing or as not existing, as both or as neither.
Yeah.
He said you just can't talk about it in terms of existence or non-existence.
Yeah.
So you can't say they continue to exist after death.
Yeah.
But you also can't say they cease to exist when they die.
Yeah.
Like both statements are incorrect.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
I actually don't really think about it. I figure I'll find out when I get there.
But the Mahayanas, they answer this. I mean, answer means either made up or real answer.
I mean, the answers that I've been told, and I'm curious what your answer to this is, but what I've been told by Mahayana monks is that an Arhat continues to exist as a high-ranking bodhisattva who inevitably becomes a Sammasambuddha at some point. Which
This
to me feels like a slightly strange answer, but that's what I've heard.
what you heard, answer?
I mean, that's
Say-
what I've heard. It feels a bit strange to me.
Say again, please.
That an Arhat continues to exist
Yeah.
as a bodhisattva and then eventually becomes a Sammasambuddha. Like, inevitably,
Yeah.
they always become a Sammasambuddha.
You mean Arhat? First I have to know the Bodhisattva and Arhat. What is the difference in terms?
So in the Theravada system, the word bodhisattva is only used to mean someone who has not attained any stage of awakening. So they're not an Arhat, they're not a non-returner, or anything. Like, they're not anything.
Yeah.
But they will eventually become a Sammasambuddha.
Oh yeah.
But they haven't attained anything. So in the Theravada system, an Arhat and a bodhisattva can't be the same thing.
Oh yeah.
So this also is where sometimes I wonder if words are being used in different ways in different traditions.
Yeah, but in Mahayana point of view, saying the Bodhisattva means your number one goal is liberate all sentient beings. That is in your mind, your priority. That's you care. So that's why in that part you become eventually Buddhahood. So the Arhat means a different part. You not become a Arhat. The Theravada way is not become a Buddha. The Arhat is your fun achievement. But at the same time, also they say they stay there a long time, and one day Buddha say, hey, you still didn't achieve Buddhahood, so you have to go. And they waken up from the the meditation, and you waken up this, and then they start like bodhisattva.
Yeah, but
That's you said before. It's similar.
that's more what we would probably call someone like that a non-returner. Like, we wouldn't call them an Arhat, because
But
that's a
The
person.
distinction is the bodhicitta. This mind, liberate sentient being. This or not. The distinction is the key distinction is that they're talking about. So you guys not talk about between bodhisattva and the Arhat. You don't talk about it. The distinction.
So for one thing, in the Theravada Suttas, this is barely spoken about at all. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hardly even mentioned.
Yes, but
So most of the understanding in the Theravada doctrine comes from later centuries in
Yes.
terms of the distinction between the Arhat and Bodhisattva. Most of it's from later centuries.
yes.
So the Theravada Suttas themselves are very straightforward. They're about how to
Yeah.
eliminate greed,
Yes,
hatred,
yes.
and self-attachment.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And the Theravada Suttas never really go into whether one wants to attain awakening in this life or become a Sammasambuddha in a future life. It just doesn't go into that.
Yes.
So what we do find in the suttas is this idea that the only thing that keeps a person continuing to exist is the belief in self-existence.
Yeah.
So this is the core delusion that keeps one continuing to exist in this world or in any world. So because an Arhat has completely removed the belief in self-existence, then what could possibly keep them going in this world? Like, there's no delusion left. There's no self-identity left.
Yes.
So there's nothing to continue.
Yes. What call this the Arhat? the Buddha after the Buddha's region.
Sorry?
The Arhat after Buddha's region one. What is his name? I forgot. Because we talking only in Tibetan. Tibetan we call Nyatu Otochimo.
You mean Kashyapa?
Yes,
Well, the,
Yeah.
Kashyapa. People still believe Kashyapa and somebody somewhere meditating, like on the mountain. People believe this is the same. Theravada?
and I've heard people say that, but there's nothing in the suttas about it.
Ah, okay.
So actually what we have in the suttas was that Kassapa passed away a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So that all the arhats from the time of the Buddha passed away a very long time ago.
Yes.
So Kassapa, Sariputta, Moggallana, Kondanya, Uplavana, Kema, they all passed away a long time ago.
Yes.
And in the suttas it says that once an arhat has passed away, you can no longer find anyone anywhere.
Yes.
So you couldn't find Kassapa, for example. And you couldn't find Ananda.
Yes.
Um,
The other thing I was very confused in one is some Theravadin teaching called for jhanas. Normal people meditation teach jhanas, right? For jhanas.
Yeah, it's mentioned all over the suttas. The Buddha talked about the four jhanas a lot.
Yes.
In the Theravadin
But what
suttas.
I confusing is when we talking about the four jhanas is something huge attainments. Like your body is a human being, but your mind is achieving these form realms, minds. So that's something for us is like attainment. We have nobody say nobody. Oh, this person achieving the jhana. We don't have anybody. It's something incredible, huge attainment. That's why we don't. It's just normal meditations. We don't say such thing. Oh, we teach this jhana. So then then Theravada they're teaching this. So that's why they must have some. It's not only this. Some of my students they say, "Oh, we experience it. It's very very profound." Blah blah. So that's why I confuse it. So is the jhanas something you can teach normal people?
So the definition that the Buddha gives in the suttas is relatively straightforward. But over the centuries, there's been a lot of different opinions about what jhanas are. Some teachers, they talk about jhana in a way which is difficult, but still something that you can do. Usually it requires spending a lot of time in meditation retreat and living a very quiet and simple life. But it's something that, that ordinary people can do. They just have to really, like an Olympic athlete, you have to really focus on this if you want to do it. And of course it's much easier if you're a monk. But lay people can also do it. They just have to really build their life around meditation. And other teachers talk about jhana as being something which is extremely difficult. And which only very, very few people will ever experience.
That makes sense. Because I think different interpretations. That makes sense. Because Tibetan way is the most difficult one they're talking about, So they don't say anything easy. Because Tibetan makes Tibetan the academic text. They make the karma three difference. One is the negative karma, one is the merit karma, one is the mahyo, or the immovable karma. So immovable means these jhanas. When you achieve these jhanas, this only project you the form realms, formless realms, depend which one you choose. So this project you in form realm, then is eons. You born as like meditative mind. You stay there, meditative mind and eons until you finish that karma. Is that exist in Theravada?
What I've been told is that it depends upon the strength of your meditative attainment, but it also depends upon your aspiration. So someone who enters jhana concentration in this life, if they have a very strong Buddhist path and a very strong focus on wanting to attain awakening,
Yeah.
and the focus to continue practicing in
Yeah.
this way,
Yeah.
then they'll still be reborn as a human or maybe as one of the lower devas.
Yeah.
But they won't go into the high form realms because it's really hard to practice Buddhism in the high form heavens.
Yeah, but when you're talking about the samsara, do you talk about form realm, formless realm, desire realm?
Mhm. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So the form realms and formless realms projected by only this meditative mind, or something else can be reborn there.
Other beings can also be reborn there, depending upon their karma. So it's not only meditators who can be reborn in the form realms.
Yeah, but Tibetan Buddhism is seems like they only born that way.
Mm.
There's no other karmas cannot project there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I've never really thought in too much
Tibetan,
detail
this
about
part
it.
is very, very
Yeah.
sophisticated, incredible, sophisticated details. Monks study many, many years. They study and debate this and the headache. Some only intelligent monks understand. The not so intelligent ones have not going to headache. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I find it interesting, but I'm just trying to purify my mind in this life. And so I actually don't want to be reborn in the high heavens. I would actually much rather just be a human.
Yes, yes.
Because we have the idea that the human realm is where it's easiest to attain awakening.
Yes, Tibetan also saying this mind is the formless realm. Mind is incredible powerful, so that's why we want to achieve this mind to realize realize high realizations, but it is to born the karmically born is they consider is useless. Not considered is something inspiration.
Yeah, so it's the same. In the Theravada tradition, we don't try to get reborn in heaven.
Yeah, same thing.
We
Tibetan
want to
same.
keep being
Yeah,
humans so that we can practice Buddhism
Yeah, yeah.
better. But coming back to the subject of jhana, I tend to be a little bit more in the camp of thinking that jhana is not incredibly hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Still hard.
Yes.
But
I want
because-
to tell you something. Tibetans sometimes make everything harder.
Polish people too.
That's why my hope there's jhanas, like Theravada way maybe can be easy way. Because Tibetans make tantra and also make very, very hard. Then you go to the Hindu, then it's tantra is quite easy and relaxed. But Tibetans make very, very sophisticated. You understand? So the same thing, the jhana also they made very, very complicated.
Fair enough. But yeah, I think because
The monkhood also we talking about before. Tibetans monk means you have to be forever and to die, otherwise you just failure. That's it. Huh? So one way is good, but one way is really bad because then many fake and many things come up.
Mhm.
People can't do that a very long time,
Yeah.
and then fake and many things come up. You understand? Yeah. But if it's talk about the way, that's so easy. So anytime you have no shame, you can now I can do, no I can't do anymore, and then one day now I want to try again. That's sense is really there is no need to fake, right?
So if you go
No
in and
reason
out-
to be fake.
That's true. If the monk life really isn't working for them, then
Yeah.
they can just be a lay person again.
Yeah. Then there's no need to fake.
Yeah.
But in the Tibetan culture, it's this very long, and then if you couldn't do monk, then everybody thinks it's terrible, you are failure. That's why they pretend,
On the other hand, there's some people who I think they actually could be a really good monk if they kept going, but they quit too soon. Like they get some difficulty
Yeah.
and then they quit.
Yeah.
But actually, if they had kept going, then they would have gotten past the
Yeah,
difficulty.
that's why some Tibetan monks are really good because they from the childhood enter, the jail very old. They have really experienced very long time, whoever really want from the heart, they are very good ones because they are long-term experience, But the not majority, not everybody. Some of them, when they're young, they think, oh, I can do it, I really like it. But and then later on, but then you can't go there, you can't go back, and just stuck there, Then you just have to continue pretend, kind of, Then that one is not so helpful because you are achieving nothing, really. Because not from your heart, then you don't achieve anything,
Yeah.
At the same time, you not useful as how to say, lay person, can do many things. You just stuck there, So I wrote a book, and I mentioned those things, for Tibetans. Please to realize this, yes. But I want to know the Tibetan, if you help me, please, if you can help me.
Yeah.
This the Theravadin, anytime you can be monk, anytime you can. This one, if it's the sutra mentioned very clearly, if has, that's if it's translated in English, then it's really helpful because I want to translate into Tibetan. Then I want to tell Tibetans, we should think about this. Look others and what Buddha said this, But we never heard the Buddha say this. So we say if you have to be excellent monk, you have to be 5 conditions. You have to certain to receive the vow. So that 5 conditions is like, I have to be monk forever and to die. You have to have that certain. Then you have to say, you have to in your mind, I keep all the vows, not just some yes, some no, all of them, And then time, or if the salvation time I don't keep, but normal way I can keep. If the life is normal, then I can keep. You can't do that. You have to think, whatever happened, I have to keep. Even the salvation, and even I die, then I have to only way I can steal, but you can't steal. It's like that way. And then the other one is, I keep in Tibet, but not keep in America. You can't do this. All of them very strict. You have to have these 5 conditions. Otherwise, you're not receiving vow. They say this.
Well, and I see like the value of that is that it makes sure that people are really serious about this. Because one of the problems that you sometimes see in Theravada countries is people, they just become monks, but they're not really enthusiastic about it.
Yes.
So they get into it for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
So you also sometimes wind up with people getting ordained quickly, but they're not. It's not really what they want to do.
What I'm saying, this is what I'm saying is I'm very serious. That's why I study everything. So then, if you study very thoroughly, then the Vinaya, they have these things. I understand, but not every Tibetan monk understand this.
Yeah, but
same thing. The majority monk, they're not serious.
But
because they don't know these things. They just, this one, my friend become monk, so I want to become monk. Or my parents say I have to be monk, okay. So this is not serious, But if it's serious, it's like that 5, these conditions.
So those 5 conditions, they're not in the Theravada canon. Like in the
they have
Vinaya, no, it's not there.
Oh no, yeah.
No, in the Vinaya Pitaka, it actually gives rules for how to disrobe, and how to like reordain. So it's in there. The Buddha gave the allowance to disrobe and then reordain if someone wants
to. But also the Tibetan Vinaya said like this. Actually said, if you can't keep anymore, and then you give the vow, and then you go back, then you can addend again in the future, but you have to be the lower position. It's not somebody keep going one. You just have to always have to take lower position.
You always start off at 0.
Okay.
Like you've been a monk for 10 years, and then you disrobe.
Yes.
Then if you get ordained again, you start over at 0.
Yes. But there is mainly I think the culture. because Tibetans, even the Vinaya said this, but the culturally not accepted. Culturally, cultural custom not accepted anything. You have to be forever, otherwise you're failure, you know. And if some people do this, some people do, you know, like the monk fair, and then when they're old, they want to become monk again, but people kind of, look at this one, you know, look at this one, you know, like that kind of, you understand that kind of attitude, you know. People don't appreciate. People kind of make fun of, you know. It's culture.
They can go to Thailand.
Or Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually in Sri Lanka there are some monasteries which are specifically for old people. Like when people are in their like 70s and 80s and they want to be a monk for their last few years, there's monasteries that are specifically for that.
Wow.
I thought I remembered Bhante Gunaratana also explaining that it was like something that's very valued in families, so that the son will go become a monk and then disrobe when he's, you know, finished or finds a girlfriend or something like that. Like if
That's
they get a
in
divorce.
Thailand. In Thailand that's common. I don't know about Sri Lanka though.
I thought in Sri Lanka. I thought in Sri Lanka it was similar a little bit to Tibet, but actually we can ask Jayanta, who is actually from Sri Lanka. I thought that actually disrobing in Sri Lanka wasn't seen too well, right?
Yeah, they do now, not like those days. Now they just leave the robe on the trees and then walk away kind of thing.
So-
They're not doing like the way here people, they understand why they want to become a monk. But in Sri Lanka, sometimes the children, a lot of children there, so parents can't afford, so they give one of the child to the temple. So when he grow up, sometimes he will have that teenage attitude. then they disrobe and then go back and find a girlfriend and stuff like that. But people who are being trained with the Bhante Panyasi, there are so many places that they get the little monks to become monks, and they are really doing great. And even I know that some of the places especially train for become a monk, and they keep them training and they go send back home again before they ordain, and see whether they will go back and like that life. And then people who go back and then come back, no, I don't want, I want to become a monk. Then only they make them more priests. So they have people properly understand what they want to be a monk. Like here I have seen some of the young people coming here and how they have the same style now. Not like those days. Some, yes, drug dealers, they come. Yeah, sometimes drug dealers, they come and they say, bring the bottle and hand over to the priest and say, ordain me. So from there they want to cut down completely drinking habit, become a, so the monk has to take care of that person wisely, why he want to be a priest, because he want to give up the drinking.
There's
So
actually
now he coming up here asking the help. So
There's
that kind of
actually-
thing happens.
there's actually a monastery in Thailand which is specifically for addicts who want to overcome their addiction. So like people who have alcohol or drug problems, they'll go there and become ordained, and it's basically its whole purpose is addiction recovery.
Yeah, they prison them. They put into the cage and
But-
they do that. Chittagalle, one of the priests called Chittagalle, Ananda. So he's very tough with the mind.
So it's almost 4 o'clock, so we're just about out of time.
Can I have one more question? The Theravadin sutras ever say the sentient beings, or we liberate sentient beings? That is not right.
So what we have is the wish for everyone to be happy.
Yes.
So
yes.
metta, karuna.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
wish for
that's
everyone to be
definitely-
happy, the wish for everyone to
All
be free of
sentient beings,
suffering.
right?
Yeah, all
Yeah.
sentient beings.
Not just human beings, right?
Right, correct. And of course, if you take that to its its fullest extent. It's the wish, may all beings attain awakening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to tell you this today because, in general, people's assumption is like the Mahayanas and Tibetan Buddhism. Their assumption is like Theravada have no compassion. Like no love, selfish. That kind of they talk about. But then then my teachers they say like I remember my teachers say you can't say that. We call Nyantu the Patiyaka and Shavaka, all of them, they have love. They have great love, great compassion. Not just little love or such in a little love and kindness, a little. They have great love, great compassion.
Yeah.
They don't do just the bodhicitta. I'm responsible everybody's liberation. They don't do that. But you can't say they don't have love, they're selfish. No way. They have great love, not just little love, they say.
Yeah, in the suttas, the Buddha says that an arhat appears in the world for the benefit and welfare of countless beings.
Yeah.
So it's this idea that arhats are full of compassion.
Yeah.
That's in the suttas.
Yes,
so
yes.
definitely compassion is a big part of the Theravada path.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we're trying to let go of self-centeredness.
Yes.
And the best way to do that is through practicing compassion.
Yeah, I also thought, that logically, if you don't practice that, love and compassion, there is not going to be success, like the
Yeah, you can't become an arhat if you're self-centered.
Yes, logically cannot be success,
Okay,
I
so
just had one question.
it's,
Just a quick one. Is
Okay.
it true what they say that the bodhisattva is pushing away the enlightenment, even when it's coming until all sentient? So they're really sacrificing, giving up what they've earned, what they've worked for, until all the sentient beings are enlightened.
No,
is this
not true.
Not true. Okay, it's totally
Because-
confused. Okay.
Because is a bodhisattva means you number one care about liberate sentient beings.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you have to liberate sentient beings and after you have to become enlightened. But you can become enlightened first. But your reason become enlightened, number one reason is you want to liberate sentient being. You can do that way. But there is three different ways. Some they want to liberate sentient beings, and then I want to become after enlightened. All sentient beings enlightened, then I want to enlighten.
This is what I heard.
Yes, that's one. The other one is I want enlightenment for the liberation of sentient being. And the other one is we call Captain Luck. Captain Luck means all sentient beings and we want to become enlightened seems together, So that's three ways you can think of. But which one you prefer doesn't matter. Which whenever you either way it doesn't matter. You see, yeah.
Thank you.
The other one called Kinlag Bodhicitta. I'm first enlightened and then I want to, because my purpose enlightenment for liberated sentient being, that's like kin. Because I'm become a kin, then I make everyone make good condemn, kingdom, like that. The other one is like a herder, like I all sentient beings enlightened, then after that's like herder. Herder herds go first, he go the back, So the other one is like captain. So three way, which one doesn't matter. Which one you like individually. Yeah.
I like the king and the ferry boat captain. I'll leave the shepherd practice to others. So we can pay respects to our venerable guest. So we can all bow 3 times to the teacher. No, you. This teacher, then that teacher. So first you. Okay, and now we can pay respects to the Buddha. And if you'd like to learn more about Rinpoche